This is the future. This is not the past.
The new XFL will kick off in 2020.
If you smell what the XFL is cooking.
It's still football, but it's professional football reimagined.
This is our moment, our story to tell. This is history begun.
This is the XFL!
Welcome, football fans. This is the week of August 18th, 2019. This is the road to 2020, and this is the XFL show. I'm Alan.
I'm Jake.
I'm Vince.
And I'm Bryant.
This week, the XFL signed their first player to a contract, teased us with some sneak peeks of team logos, and we spoke with a future XFL quarterback. It's episode 82, the signing period, and we are 25 weeks away from kickoff 2020, and we are in the midst of one of the busiest weeks on the road to 2020, a monumental milestone, first player signed. This is going to be one busy show, Bryant.
Alan, it's sign-in season, it's sneak peeking season, it's every type of season right now, it seems like, for the XFL. One of the busiest weeks I can recall. We drafted this show, we had to rewrite it. We drafted it again, we had to rewrite it once more. So many things coming out. I'm excited to talk all things XFL today.
You know, it's a good show when you have half of the people on the show saying we need to talk mostly about this, and then we've got one person saying, no, we need to talk only about this. And then we got another person saying, no, we should talk about these things. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun to go here and there with all the news that came out this week. But last week, real quick to recap, was an amazing show as well. Shout out to everybody on Twitter, that all the players. Really, I want to give it up to the players this week for sharing their invitations, which they did not have to do, and they are doing it, and letting us know who's going to be a part of this draft pool come October. And I think, Bryant, we've tallied over 100 players that are going to be in the XFL draft pool so far. Over 100.
Over 100, that's a good percentage of all the Summer Showcase invitees. Shout out to them for giving us that information. Probably more invites even sent than we are privy to at this point. But yes, shout out to them. Over 100 players. The list keeps growing daily. And one official signing that you mentioned that we're going to talk about a little bit later.
Yeah, we are going to talk about the big signing. Of course, a Tier 1 player has been signed in the XFL. Huge week. We have a guest this week. We're going to talk to Tanner Mangum, former BYU quarterback, who is going to be in the draft pool. And it was an awesome conversation I had earlier this week. We'll play that for you. But we also had a busy week ourselves. We recorded some special Patreon minisodes where we are looking at the NFL preseason and went over some of the players that we've got our eye on in the NFL right now that could potentially be XFL players. There are a ton of those, and now we're in the midst of week 2 in the NFL preseason, and it's hurting season, Vince. Players are going down. It's making it very difficult to really pinpoint who we think could be in the XFL, because now the NFL might be reaching at some guys we thought were actually XFL bound.
Yeah, this is a time of year where, teams start scrambling a little bit. They start looking, under rocks, hoping to find, some replacement players. We saw it this past week. Philadelphia Eagles had to play a wide receiver at quarterback. So, that's what time of year it is. If you got some talent, you could find your way onto a team.
And another mini-sode coming out. We talked about Bob Stoops, who was recently inducted into the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. The XFL Dallas head coach, general manager, had some very interesting things to say about his approach to the XFL. I want to know, Jake, where do you come out on Bob Stoops? Do you feel like he's the biggest name, but do you feel like, are you betting on XFL Dallas because of their coach? Are you excited for Bob Stoops as a pro coach versus being a college coach? I don't know where I come out on him compared to some of the other guys with more professional experience.
Well, this is a new professional league, but surely it's not going to have the any stigma or the the anticipation of an NFL job. We've seen we've seen guys like Nick Saban go to the NFL and not put anything together and come back to college. So I don't think this is that type of situation. I think Coach Stoops, I guess the pressure, there's not as much pressure on him, even if he would go coach the Bengals or something like that.
Yeah, and he said as much, and we really broke down some of his recent quotes about his approach to his XFL job. And if you're a part of our Patreon, you'll hear that episode. Very interesting stuff. I had some opinionated things to say, Bryant, about Bob Stoops in that mini-sode we put up exclusively for the gentle patrons.
Well, it was a lot about commitment, and I don't think none of us questioned his commitment, but whether or not it was going to fulfill what he needed out of coaching football once again. He made some quotes this past week at his Hall of Fame induction into the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, I want to say.
Yes.
But yeah, Alan, you and I discussed his interview, or I guess his quotes by I think it was the Oklahoma Sentinel, something like that. One of those papers out there. But yeah, we went into depth in that. It was a good listen.
It was like the Norman Viewer or Observer.
Yeah, something like that.
Something Norman. Yeah.
Was it a legit paper?
Yes.
Or was it just a rag sheet?
No, it was a legit paper reporting on Bob Stoops' induction. He said some interesting things about how he's approaching his XFL gig, and really encourage anybody who's a member of the Patreon to listen to it. And if you're not, definitely join the Patreon, because you get bonus shows, extra content, lots of discussion about all things XFL and even outside the XFL, and that's all up on the Patreon. But I also want to give a special shout out this week to the fans who are super hyped and even hit us up because they're so hyped. Bryant, we've got people who have already put down and put their names in for season tickets, and they're so jacked up that they're getting word back from the teams that they're going to watch. Presidents this week emailed all the people who are going in for season tickets, and people are super excited for it.
I would be if I was a season ticket holder getting ready for the XFL season. Nothing better than seat selection when you're a first-time season ticket holder. So good on that. That's exciting times for a fan of any football team, especially the XFL when it comes to 2020.
And according to these emails that the team presidents are sending out to season ticket or soon-to-be season ticket holders, the word on pricing and everything's going to be coming out, it looks like, in September. So we'll wait and see on that and talk about it some more. Really, Vince, can you believe Bryant's not a season ticket holder for XFL LA yet? You know why he isn't, right? He figured, I'm friends with Coach Moss now, I'm going to hold off. He thinks,
I think he's hoping to get some on-field passes, which I would probably be doing the same,
I understand it, Brian, but I know if that was the case, you would have already had those locked up.
No comment on. I don't take friendships for favors. I'll tell you that much right now. And I did want to say something about last week that I misspoke. Guest on this show, and I accidentally said Carats. Heather, I apologize. It's Heather Carrots, everyone. I'll get better at this. I should be better. But yes, I'll be going to LA games. I'll be going to every single one of those LA games. Don't you worry about it.
Brian, I think you should try to get 3% better at every show. I think that's what you should focus on.
That's the goal every single week, Brian. That's what we want you to focus on. 3% improvement.
That's 25 weeks times 3, 75% better. Okay, I think I can do that.
Imagine what you're going to look like at the end of 2020 if you take that approach. Another quick hit we gotta mention here is also, it came out that the XFL Tampa Bay team has locked down their practice facility. They will be training at the Plant City Stadium, which was formerly a home to the Cincinnati Reds during spring training. So a legitimate professional building, and we know we're keeping an eye on practice facilities for all these teams. Vince, I think one important thing that people really they underestimate is the fact that you have a home away from home, your home stadium on game days, the place you're at the rest of the week is very important. We looked at the AAF, and that kind of was the telltale sign that this league isn't going to last when they started to have to, practice at a high school facility. So this is good to hear.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've been down to some of those, spring training facilities in Florida, and they're quite impressive. So, this is the real deal here. A good place to train and get better.
So they're not going to get bumped by like JV girls field hockey or anything.
No, yeah, they're not. They're not going to be like Coach Spurrier. Our freshman soccer team needs to practice. Are you guys going to be done soon? That's not going to be.
I don't know. Are they getting bussed in from Georgia, or is this actually in Florida?
It's actually in Florida, which is good to hear.
Oh, okay, cool.
And just more mile markers being checked off on the road to 2020. And boy, do we have some big ones to get into this week. We've got the first. I mean, this is history this week. The first player signed to an XFL contract we're going to talk about. We have also a future XFL quarterback that we're going to be speaking with right here on this week's show. It's a big one. And before we get to all of it, let me just remind everyone that we are brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts, prettyeasypodcasts.com, where you need to go if you want to get your own podcast started. Say you've been thinking about this idea for a long time, and I have a lot to say about a subject. You're passionate about something. You've always wanted to do a podcast, but hey, you don't know about microphones and setting up recordings and getting on Apple Podcasts and all that. Well, you go to prettyeasypodcast.com, you sign up, and you get your own personal producer who takes care of all of that for you, and all you have to worry about is the content, doing your show, speaking into a microphone, and Pretty Easy Podcasts takes care of the rest. Go to prettyeasypodcasts.com today and sign up, or just inquire and get the feel for it, and maybe you'll get guided along into getting your own show off the ground. prettyeasypodcasts.com, making podcasting easy on anybody who's ever thought about doing their own podcast. If you guys are ready, we can get into this week's cover two, which is going to be chock full of stuff that I think if Jake has his way, Brian, we might not even get out of the cover two with an XFL tweet that came out just hours before we started recording the show.
We might stick into the cover one, but Alan, do we have time to do XFL Legends segment this week? I feel like we're missing that.
An XFL Legends segment? No.
No time this week? Oh,
we are long past those days, bro.
We're yearning for that. Oh, okay.
You're going to probably have to wait till the summer of 2020 after the first season for one of those again. Here we go. Let's get into this week's cover two.
Going for two. Go for two and the lead.
Here we go. It's a tweet. Our first clues. The big picture is coming soon. This is from @XFL 2020 on Twitter. And apparently it looks like two very close-up views of what appears to be team logos. And I'm not going to go ahead and comment on the colors. I'll let you guys do that. I'm colorblind. So this is a very tough segment for me. But the XFL tweeted out sneak peeks of what appear to be team logos this week. Very exciting, and people went berserk on Twitter immediately.
This is really what's causing all this. As far as I'm concerned, this is the program this week. And, other shows may rewrite things up to the minute, but whenever you're getting breaking news like this coming out, for all the listeners out there, hit pause or do what you got to do to pull up these logos. So Brian, we've got two separate logos here, and I would assume that these are for two clubs. It's not like one is a primary logo and another one's going to be a shoulder patch or something like these. These look like two separate and distinct things to me.
Jake, do you have a secondary Twitter account and you've been yearning for these team names? Are you being one of those people that are saying, yeah, great story, Jeremiah, but where's the team names at? Is that you?
No,
it sounds like you right now.
That's not me.
You're so hyped for these two little snippets of information.
This is great. You got one, and I for any of our fellow colorblind listeners out there, so let's just start. Let's take as much time. Let's not rush through this here. All right. The logo on the left, you got a kind of like a baby blue, I guess, black and red. And I don't know. To me, it looks like a menacing red eye or something. I don't know if that would.
Doesn't it look like that? Seeing this, is it Thundercats or
no, it looks like the extreme logo, the spinning wheel with the spikes. I think that's what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, but no, I was thinking, I was trying to.
Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yes. I thought, is it like a brand of like insect killer or pesticide?
No, not insect killer. Yeah, the cartoon with the cats and they had the armor.
Thundercats. This kind of looks like Black Panther logo, but with a fang, is what it looks like to me, like a sharp.
I mean,
Fang.
Looks like the Miami Sharks, honestly, from Any Given Sunday.
Is this going to be the Tampa Bay Fangs, Jake?
I don't think so. It's so far. It's probably very far zoomed in. It looks like a red eye to me, but I don't know. But I mean, that light blue color on there. It's pretty close to Oiler. Oiler blue. Just trying to speculate on there.
Now, Jake, do you think the angle of the spike significant is more like a tooth? Is it just an accent to a letter?
Like a whisker or an antenna?
It could be. It could be a whale's mouth.
What if it's like a Zorro mask?
A whale swimming to the left.
It does look like a Zorro mask.
It looks like like the half of the Pringles logo.
I'll tell you what it's not, and it's my new favorite speculative team name. It's not an LA Flamingo logo, Jake. I'll tell you that. This is definitely not. If you're
it's a millennial flamingo, it could be.
If you're gonna guess what city this logo represents, the one we're looking at, the baby blue, the red, seemingly eye, and the black with what looks like a sharp fang or bottom lip or something. What city do you think this is representative of?
I'll rule out Dallas. More to come on that shortly. I mentioned Oiler blue, but I don't think it's that. I don't think it could be. If I had to guess one, I would say it's Tampa. There's something about that blue just, says there's got to be a bay and a pirate ship in the vicinity. I know, Alan, you're big on black and red, and that, they do have that on here for pirates.
That makes sense for Tampa. You're right.
But, I'm not sure what the nautical correlation would be here, unless it's a poorly drawn whale.
There's blue there, and it does kind of look like it could be a whale, but I'm sure this is an extreme zoom in, which is why I want to call out to any sketch artists out there. If you work for a police department anywhere in the country, 724-565-4XFL. If you could check out these XFL sneak peeks at the logos and let us know what you think. There are people, Brian, who could finish these kind of drawings off and pretty accurately and come up with what they're depicting. I'm sure there's someone out there who could do it. I cannot. I have no earthly clue. I'm hoping one of these is Sasquatches for Seattle, but I doubt it.
No green, Alan, so how is that going to be a Sasquatch? At the end of it all.
Sasquatches are brown.
Sasquatch is brown.
Yeah, but you need forest green. Come on.
Sasquatches
don't live in the ocean. They live in the forest.
He lives among the green trees, Vince. He's right. That's true. But
unless he's a Yeti.
Oh, then he would be all white.
But then that's not a Sasquatch.
No.
They're related.
I don't think either of these are Sasquatch. The second one, Jake, I think kind of looks like the Memphis Express, but I don't know.
Well, it's got Memphis Express colors. Let's break it down here. You got some gray in there.
Break it down.
You got let's not rush through this. Navy blue.
This is a football show.
Red and white. To me, this looks like this is part of just a big letter. And I think that letter is D. This looks like the bottom left-hand corner of the letter D to me.
So it's either DC or Dallas, you're saying?
Well,
I think it's Dallas. I'm going to tell you that.
To me, it kind of looks like
it
looked like the bottom of a sharp angled Liberty Bell. It kind of looks like the Phillies logo.
So you say they moved the team to Philly? Is what you're saying?
It's not happening. It looks like the bottom of an A, doesn't it?
To me, that looks like an L.
What font do you think this is? Has anybody gone through?
I'm just happy it's not
Times New Roman.
I'm happy it's not Comic Sans. I'm just happy it's not Comic Sans. It's definitely not that. This is great. I'm loving that the league did this. This is Brian. How aware is the league that fans are going crazy over this sort of thing? And they did to do this I think it's hilarious and awesome. I'm so excited for it. And
I guarantee you this is one of their most liked tweets ever.
Oh, for sure.
It's definitely better than just, showing us every, 4 teams showing us everything, the jerseys, the logos, the colors. This is much more intriguing.
Now, do you think we're going to get this all weekend long? Or is it going to wait again?
I don't think you're going to get any more. I think you'll get 2 more sneak peeks of different logos in about.
If they do 2 a day for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
No, I think they're going to wait about 5 to 9 days.
5 to 9 days.
Okay, I'm going to pull back the curtain. Does Jake do I sound like Jake on our Brainbuster Radio podcast the way Jake sounds to us right now? He sounds like a total fan right now. Come on, Jake.
I'm just excited about it, the mystery of it all. Yeah, Jake, you're right. It's really cool that the XFL is.
I don't know how to data mine, but I'm going to be Googling that after this program.
They're dangling the carrot. They are really stringing us along with this, and it's really fun. I'm paying closer attention to what we're going to talk about in a minute. With the players, but there are fans. Obviously, I guess the majority of the fans, I don't know, Vince, if it's most people are more interested in the team names and logos than the players. I was more hyped for the announcement this week of the first player signed to a contract with the league, but this tweet obviously got people going nuts.
Yeah, I mean, this is, people respond to, the visualization, what is this going to look like? And it is important. Because you could go back in the archives and listen to all of our discussions on logos and colors and team name speculation, but that kind of stuff, it either says gives the illusion that you're big time or you're just some circus act. That stuff is very important, and I think they're doing this the right way here by just showing a little bit of it. Players extremely important, but then some people, and we're going to talk about this later, you see the players and you're like, is that really it? But here, at least they'll look good, in the uniforms.
Well, Brian, if one of these logos had to go to LA, which one would you pick? The one on the left or
I'd pick the one on the right. I think I'd pick the one on the right. The left one,
I mean,
it reminds me a little bit of like NHL Hits 2000.
Great game.
The logos are great game, very great game. But look, I'm interested. I want to know these team names. I want to see them. I want to be excited for them. Doing this gets me there, but I just worry that without seeing the full picture, they look a little too generic. I don't think you could zoom into a NFL team logo and see the same kind of image that we're looking at right now.
Well, we'll see what these full images look like. I do want to put it out there that XFL St. Louis is teasing and promoting get together, a happy hour with their team president Kurt Hunziker, and the colors for that promotion and the tweet they put out, red, white, and blue, similar to one of these logos. And that happy hour, if you're in the St. Louis, Missouri area, and St. Charles more specifically, that's going down August 20th on Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. at Bar Louie. But St. Louis colors in this graphic that they're promoting, Brian, are red, white, and blue.
Yeah, so different from what the two logos are. You have is that an indication? Do we know if that's what St. Louis is going to go with, or is St. Louis traditionally red, white, and blue? Maybe I'm just not aware.
I mean, you got the Cardinals with
and you have the Blues,
and
we do know they only have two teams.
Not that kind of blue.
What if all the teams are red, white, and blue, Jake? Would you be really upset?
Well, that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Just different saturation levels. Well, with
there's
these
a
two
blue and
here,
a gray and a white. There's black and red.
You still got red.
But there's white and gray and blue in the other one.
I'd like to just put it out there. I don't care what any of the colors are because I can't see them. So I'm just excited for what we're going to get into next.
Come on, let's go darker shade of gray team.
The logos are exciting and everybody get excited for them and the XFL's teasing them and have fun with it. But what about what went down this week? Commissioner invitations went out. Hundreds of players are getting these emails, life-changing emails. You will be a part of the XFL Draft come October. And that is, that changes the world of so many players who have recently left college and thought, oh, all right, now I got to go to sell insurance or be a civilian, find some kind of job. Or veterans who have been playing for years and thought, okay, my career is finally coming to an end. But no, here it is, a second chance, a shot to continue to play the game that you love. And this week I was fortunate, guys, to talk to Tanner Mangum, who was the quarterback at BYU from the years 2015 to recently. He graduated, 2018, his final season. An up and down career at BYU, a very heralded quarterback in high school. And this guy goes and he goes into a career for the Cougars. He has his ups and downs. He succeeds Taysom Hill. He has his highs. He has his lows with terrible injuries and getting kind of passed up by a younger guy, but still very talented. He goes to the Houston Showcase for the XFL, and when he thinks he's going to have to go and pivot to a new kind of career, here it is. Football is back in his life, and I got to talk to him this week. It's a fascinating interview we're going to play for everybody this week, but I mean, we're talking about a player who's going to be in the draft pool versus who we're going to talk about in a little bit, a player who was signed by the league as a Tier 1, Vince. Very different aspects when it comes to the contracts, but very interesting nonetheless for both guys. This league is going to be full of interesting stories, and the cool thing is we're going to hear about a lot of them versus the NFL, where a lot of players' stories are kind of kept, they're swept under the rug of the hysteria of the NFL. And the XFL, a lot of these players' stories are going to be highlighted.
Yeah, and that's, you laugh, but a lot of people really gravitate to the stories, specifically ones where, somebody was down and out, and then they, come back and they achieve great success. And that could be what we have really highlighted here in the XFL with these guys.
So while we talk about Landry Jones signing the first XFL contract in a little bit, let's take you to my interview earlier this week with quarterback Tanner Mangum, who is going to be a part of the XFL draft pool come October. He talked about his career, his pursuits, his dream of continuing to play the sport of football, and the opportunities the XFL is presenting to a lot of players like himself. Here it is, my interview with Tanner Mangum, former BYU quarterback. All right, now we're speaking with a future XFL quarterback, former BYU quarterback Tanner Mangum, joining This Is the XFL show. What's up, Tanner?
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, man, we're super excited to have you, one of the first commissioner invitees. Before we get into all things XFL, I want to ask you, how's life been since the BYU chapter of your career came to a close?
Well, it's been good. I got married, which was awesome. It's a little bit weird though, kind of just a unique transition, being done with college football, and then now kind of seeing my friends that are still on the team. They're in fall camp, getting ready for their season. It's just kind of different. It's kind of weird. At the same time, it's opened a lot of new doors, a lot of different chapters that are now starting for me that I'm really excited about. And I had a couple tryouts with some NFL teams, didn't make it, but then was fortunate enough to get this tryout with the XFL, and now to get this invitation is huge. It means a lot, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, we're really excited for you and all the players that are getting this opportunity, because there's so many guys out there who want to continue to play, are able to play at a high level, but obviously the NFL only has so many roster spots, and we think it's a great thing for guys like you that the XFL's coming around, and here they are now. The process has been ongoing. You were a part of one of the summer showcases. I believe you went to Houston, right?
Yes, correct.
So what went into getting the invite to the Houston showcase? Did you get a call out of the blue, or did you pursue it? How'd that work?
It was an email. I got an email pretty much out of the blue from one of the directors of the player personnel of the XFL, and extended the invite to the showcase in Houston. And so I talked to my agent about it and booked a flight. And it ended up being a really cool experience. I ended up seeing some old faces that I'd seen before. I was able to meet Commissioner Luck, which was great. A real honor to meet him, and then just to be surrounded by a bunch of guys who are in a similar position as I am. Guys who have played, have the ability, have the desire, but are just looking for an opportunity. looking for an opening, and ended up being a really good day, and fortunately led to an invitation. So I'm feeling really grateful and just thankful for the opportunity.
And the showcase, I went to a couple of them. They were really fun. I went to New York and D.C. You're in Houston. They had a lot going on in terms of technology to evaluate players, and they also were using a new football that I know you quarterbacks were getting to play with. Did you get to throw around that concept ball at all?
I did. It was unique. I kind of liked it. It was a little bit different. Didn't know what to expect, but ended up feeling just fine. And it's one of those things that at first it feels a little bit weird, but then just throwing it for a little bit, you get used to it. And I'm not sure what they're going to be using in the upcoming season, but whatever it is, I'll be ready and I'll be ready to go.
Yeah, that was a concept ball. We must reiterate they weren't sure. It was kind of a test. The testing of it. I tried to get my hands on it, but they were very hush-hush. Only the quarterbacks and personnel were able to touch the new concept ball. We'll see what the league decides on that. But after the showcase, a lot of players we've talked to were kind of just in a holding period, a wait and see. We know that some of them were kind of tipped off that they would be getting the commissioner invite. How was it for you? After you left, was it just waiting on pins and needles, or did you just go back to civilian life? What was the process until you got the commissioner invite?
Well, I was really fortunate to have some good conversations with the Houston coaching staff that was there, and some of the other coaches that were there, and they gave me some good feedback. And let me know that they'd be interested, but there were no guarantees. And so I felt confident knowing that I gave it my all, that I played my best, did the best I could. And just knew that, if it worked out, great. But if not, I can say that I gave it my all, but I felt pretty good with my performance. And then, so I just kind of had to wait, and, it's a little bit trying, it tries your patience, and you just gotta stay patient and control what you can control, and not stress about it too much. And so just went back to life. We kept working. I work in marketing, but I also just kept training. I'm still just working out, keeping just staying ready. And then it felt really good to get that invitation to the draft pool, just to have that hard work validated, and just to get that official invitation is really exciting. And so, looking forward to the coming months.
Yep. Now you got to stay even more ready, because the draft's coming up in October, and you'll find out where you'll be heading. You get the commissioner invite. We saw the emails. A lot of players tweeted out the emails, the graphic of it. It said, click here for more. And then you click on that. And what does the invite tell you? What did it tell the players? Just basically congratulations and just wait until October?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. Just congrats. And then you click on it just to input some just your basic information, and then they'll be in touch with more information as it comes out. And so, it's a little bit more of a waiting game. Going to wait and see what happens in October, but it's a great league with great leadership, great management. The cities that the teams are located in are all great cities, and so I'm really just grateful for the opportunity. And wherever I end up, I'll be excited. I'll be hungry, to go and work and to help the team succeed wherever I go. And so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, you see what we see. We've been covering the thing since it was announced, and the league is really put together well, top to bottom. Every milestone has been hit on time, and the evaluation process has been really fun and thorough. And we're just hitting another huge mile marker with this draft, and it's in October. And you're not going to have really. Do you know if you're going to have any other chance to put anything on tape or show off a little bit? Because who knows where you're going to go. We know some quarterbacks are going to be signed before the draft. We already saw one with Landry Jones actually earlier today. But if you're not one of those 8, you'll be in the draft, and you have no idea where you're going, do you? What round or how deep into it or what?
Nope. I know. It's no idea. I mean, but that's part of the excitement of it all. It's a new league. In a way, for a lot of the players, it's a new start, a fresh start, a second chance to continue to play the game that we love. And so you just got to enjoy the excitement of it all, enjoy the journey. Right now we don't have all the answers, but that's okay. And so we just got to, for me, just control what I can control and keep working, keep staying in shape, making sure that I'm ready to go, so that wherever I go, wherever my number is called, I'll be able to go and give my best effort and give be the best version of myself. As I mentioned before, every team has a great coaching staff. Every city is a great city to be in. And so, you can't go wrong, and I'm really looking forward to finding out where I go.
And we know that you've persevered, Tanner. You've had some trials and tribulations while you were at BYU. You succeeded, Taysom Hill. You faced some injuries, and now you're here facing the XFL opportunity. What made you want to get involved with the XFL more than anything? Was it just the pure love of football? Was it unfinished business after your college career? What exactly made you want to be involved with the new league?
I think that's a good question, but for me, the driving force behind it all is just the love of the game. Ever since I was a kid, I've just loved football and loved playing it, loved being a part of the team, loved the constant quest for perfection. You're never you can never quite perfect the quarterback position. There's always room for growth and improvement, and I love that aspect of it. I love being around teammates and coaches and being a part of a team, a part of a group that's committed to a higher cause. And so, why wouldn't I take this opportunity to continue to play the game that I love and to continue this path, this dream that we all have since we're kids. Since you start playing the game, you want to play it for as long as you can and enjoy it. And cherish that opportunity. And so I couldn't be more grateful to continue to play the game that I love.
It's awesome. Enjoy the pursuit of perfection, man. And I'm glad to see you're getting another opportunity at it with the XFL. Real quick, fans are always bugging us about this. Had to ask you. I know the answer is no, but they're all bugging us about team names. We get hyped about the players like you, and they say, yeah, what about the team names? They're not out yet. When you clicked on that click here for more on your commissioner's invite, it didn't tell you the team names, did it?
No, it did not.
Figured. Yeah, we'll wait and see on those. Those are players are the most important, and the team names will come, man. And we're super excited for you. We look forward to hearing your name called in that October draft.
Appreciate it. Yeah, for me, the name doesn't matter. Whatever the name is, whatever the jersey is, I'll go and give it my all.
Like you said, the coaching staffs and the cities are great. It's all about finding out where you're going and playing some football, man. Appreciate your time, Tanner, and good luck in October.
Hey, thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Tanner Mangum, former BYU quarterback, will be a part of the draft pool in October, guys. There he is. This is a guy who I would estimate has unfinished business. He was passed up by Zach Wilson at BYU in his senior season. A guy who injuries kind of set him back, but plenty to give to the game. And that's the beauty of the XFL. It is providing a place for people with something to give to the game, a place to give back to the game. And he's, I think, exemplary of that. We're going to see probably 7 more quarterbacks signed before he gets signed in October, but who knows come December and January with those training camps. Just because a guy's a Tier 1 signee doesn't mean he's going to finish a season, Vince, as an XFL team's quarterback.
Yeah, there's always that possibility that, I guess, NFL could come calling, I suppose.
That's true, or also that you can win the job that a Tier 1 guy has already gotten at the start of a season. Bryant, let's not forget, notorious, the first XFL draft pick ever. Never really was the quarterback for the LA Extreme. Another guy ended up playing for that team and winning an MVP in 2001.
Scott Something Manovich. See, I can't remember because Tommy Maddox took over the starting job for that team. And yes, just because you're a tier one and the XFL is going to do their best to get great tier one quarterbacks does not mean that once you give one of these other quarterbacks a go at it, that they can't take over that job. It might be even better than one of these tier ones. So, Tanner's quest to continue his football dream is actually quite inspiring for anybody who actually wants to continue playing the game. And that's all these gentlemen want is, excuse me, Tanner was kind of out of if this was 2019, he might not be playing football anymore. If the XFL was launching in 2019, because there was just no outlet out there for them. Now with the XFL launching in 2020, it gives him another opportunity. As our friend Sean Hickey said a couple weeks ago, financially, it makes sense for these players to pursue this. It's not just something that's going to get them, a lunch on the weekdays and nothing really else. It's going to help pay bills. It's going to help them solidify, give them a little more time to do something they love and get and make a living off of it.
And most interesting to me this week is Jake's reaction, because Jake, you are kind of the everyman fan, at least to me, and I know you. I would bet money you've never watched Tanner Mangum throw a football in your life. So when you hear that interview, what do you make of a guy who is pursuing a professional career, who maybe was a college quarterback but didn't ascend to the heights of a Baker Mayfield or a Tua Tagovailoa, but a guy who, was heralded out of high school and has arm talent, but had some, pitfalls throughout his college career?
I mean, it's admirable to see his loyalty towards the game still. And, again, it's not like this is small potatoes, especially whenever somebody reaches out to you, like he said, kind of out of nowhere to send an email. That you get this invitation. So yeah, sticking to the grind, it's not like he's 15 years removed from his playing days or from college or anything. This is still very recent and fresh.
Yeah, this would be a lot different league, right, Vince, if we were hearing stories of guys who were in the NFL 10 years ago who said, I got an email from the XFL last week. These are guys who were just out of college, who still have plenty left to offer.
It's not like, they're not reaching out to Dante Culpepper.
What's he doing nowadays?
I don't know.
Maybe they should, actually.
I hopefully enjoying retirement.
But the golden years. But honestly, they're quarterback, we're talking about quarterbacks right now. Such a difficult position to play, specifically in the NFL, maybe the hardest in all of sport. But just because you're not good enough, or NFL teams don't think you're good enough to play in the NFL, doesn't mean you're a bad player. And I think that's what we're seeing here is guys with legit quarterbacking talent, guys that can really spin it and can play the position, are finding themselves in the XFL. And I think that's a great thing, because we all know it's about the quality of the play. And I think they're adding some quality players here.
It's the quality of the play.
They are, and top to bottom. And while Tanner Mangum's going to be a part of the draft pool, guys, we do have our first tier 1 signing, who now we need to thoroughly break down, discuss, and look ahead. Brainiacs, it's Long Island Iced Tea here, and this week we are ready to talk pro graps with you, coming off of our epic 6-hour plus BBR all day long. What could top that? Oh, I don't know, maybe the King of the Ring's return?
Yeah, a lot of controversy about this King of the Ring. Is it going to be happening one night, 2 nights, over a month? I mean, a lot of rumors and innuendo being spread.
It's the most interesting thing in the WWE, or is the most interesting thing this week. We finally find out who has been attacking Roman Reigns. Daniel Bryan says he's going to reveal it. Do you believe he actually knows who did it?
Long Island, it is I, a man called Wired, and as I promised, I delivered. We will find out. Daniel Bryan, he's an honest man, I believe. At least on social media, he seems like it. He just loves a green planet. This week, we are definitely going to find out who is finally attacking Roman Reigns.
It's Brainbuster Radio. It's available on all podcast gimmicks. Tweet it, read it, tout it, shout it, be all about it at The Brainbusters on Twitter, Instagram Junior, and Facebook at The Brainbusters. We'll see you this week for another edition of Brainbuster Radio. So if you guys are ready, I'm ready to talk about the big signing, the first signing, Landry Jones, the first XFL player to sign on to play in 2020.
Blue 58! Blue 58! Go! Hey, Ric Flair! Ric Flair! Pepper, Clip, Caliber.
Motown, happy, jolly, drunk, Buster, Boomer, Tiger! I think he's got a hound too, Rodney, I think.
B-19! B-19! Hey, Seattle! Lion! Mars 83!
Quarterback Landry Jones has signed on with the XFL, making him the league's first ever player. Former Oklahoma quarterback has signed on. He played for the Sooners between 2009 and 2012 for Bob Stoops. Was a Steelers backup for a handful of years. 5 games started in Pittsburgh. Last year was with the Jaguars, down in their depth chart. Eventually was cut by them. Was with Oakland briefly. And the rumor is that they only brought him in to kind of acclimate Antonio Brown into their system. So Landry Jones is looking for a home, and he finds it in the XFL. Just so happens to be the league where his former college head coach is the man in charge of the Dallas franchise. So many things to discuss around this signing. First and foremost, guys, I want to ask you, Landry Jones, the first player signed to the XFL, do you expect him to play anywhere but Dallas?
Hold on. Sorry, Alan. The more I look at this logo looks like a barracuda, maybe, or something.
It's a Sasquatch.
Sorry.
Now move on.
Okay, I'm sorry. Landry Jones, is he playing in Dallas? Is that the question? I don't want to sit here and say that the league is just going to give Dallas whoever they want, or give any team whoever they want. I want to believe, Bryant, want to believe that there's going to be a lottery of some sort, a way to give the coaches a choice of who they sign and who is their number one quarterback, their tier 1 quarterback. All that said, I'm pretty sure he's going to be in Dallas.
Yeah, we have no idea exactly how that process is going to go. Let's go to the league's official press release on this signing. They said, quote, "We're excited to welcome Landry to the XFL as our first player and first quarterback." And that is from Oliver Luck himself, the commissioner. And Oliver Luck said, quote, "He's an accomplished athlete with outstanding college credentials and pro experience, 5 starts with the Steelers, and his heart and desire to play football epitomizes the type of individual we want in the XFL." Landry Jones' statement said, quote, "I'm looking forward to joining the XFL and playing the game I love. I can't wait to suit up." This was a foregone conclusion, Vince, when we heard that Landry Jones was a part of one of the summer showcases, the first XFL player signed, a tier 1 player. How about you? What do you expect from Landry Jones? He's going to be the Dallas quarterback, right?
Yeah, I hope so. Still can't believe Bob Stoops is a head coach in the XFL. But he's also got Hal Mummy as his OC. They're going to do wonders with Landry Jones. This is my pick to win it all right now. This is.
Are you walking it in already?
This trio is just, I think really set up for big things. I walk around town and I tell people about the XFL, people that aren't quite as informed about it, and they say, well, who's going to be in this league? Who's playing in this league? And I tell them people like Landry Jones. That's what I've been telling people, and their ears perk up because they know, he's not he's not a Ben Roethlisberger, but he could still be a good football player. And I think that's exactly what the XFL got.
And I think we are especially suited to speak on this because not only are we one of the, if not the only show chronicling the XFL's run to 2020 from day one, guys, but 3 of the 4 of us are intense Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's be honest. We have witnessed Landry Jones as a pro quarterback, Jake, and we can speak on him in this element as a professional quarterback. And, when you talk about him filling in for Ben Roethlisberger, obviously he is a huge downgrade from what Ben Roethlisberger brought to the Steelers, but when he came in for the Pittsburgh Steelers as a backup quarterback, I would say compared to any other backup quarterback we've watched for the Steelers in the history of our existence as fans of the team, he filled in as expected. He is a professional quarterback, and I think this is a solid signing by the league.
Yeah, I mean, he's no Charlie Batch. Let's put that comparison.
You're talking about the greatest Steelers backup quarterback of all time.
Yeah, I have been vocal on this show about some of the frustrations I've had with Landry whenever he was part of our club. But I do think he is tier 1 material for a new startup league that looks to have a very promising first season. I think he's right there. And if Coach Stoops wants him, then that's who he's going to get.
I think we're talking about a quarterback some NFL teams would kill to have as their backup quarterback right now.
You bring up an excellent point, and we had Sean Hickey on the show a couple weeks ago, and what did he say? Once you get cut once you get cut twice, it becomes very easy for NFL teams to just look at you essentially as a journeyman and somebody who's not NFL material, and you're just a camp arm to them, and they're just going to cut you. But it seems like he didn't quite get his full fair shake in the NFL. I think he's got more to offer. I really do.
I do.
Well,
I think this is a guy on the level of a Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is basically on the verge of again being a starting NFL quarterback, Bryant. But Landry Jones, as Vince said, has been kind of put through the ringer of a couple of teams, and then there's a stigma or whatever you want to call it around him, and so he is not an NFL quarterback right now. He decides to join the XFL. I think it's a great decision by him because this guy is going to get to play some damn football come 2020.
It was 3 years, I would say, right? He spent in Pittsburgh. I think after the first 2, he was given a 2-year contract, released after only 1 year of that contract actually being fulfilled. Spent some time in Jacksonville, like you said. He how do I put this? He just needs to play. And I think that's the opportunity he's going to get. You're right. He could probably be a backup at many teams. And you know what? I would say that the XFL signing is what's making him more appealing to NFL teams at this moment in time, especially NFL teams that need a backup or maybe even a starter at this point. Landry Jones is probably going to stick with the XFL. We all know this at this point. And he's going to get the reps. He's going to play. He's going to show what he did in Oklahoma wasn't so much as a fluke as people might have thought it was. And he's going to show the mechanics and all that stuff. This is his opportunity. Whether he does or not, who knows? But this is the opportunity that someone like Landry Jones needs and is probably going to flourish, I hope, when he gets it.
Think about this. You're in Pittsburgh where the backup quarterback is one of the most popular people in the entire city. And, probably you could say that about a lot of towns, but especially Pittsburgh. And, everybody wants to see this guy. Everybody thinks he's so great. And then it's finally his time. And you got to think about the amount of pressure that is on him. And also the pressure coming from his teammates. I mean, you got wackos in that locker room like Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell that you got to deal with. That is just a tall order that not many people can do. Does this guy have a huge arm that can make all the throws? Probably not. But is he somebody who can be accurate and play with efficiency and run a Bob Stoops type offense? Absolutely.
A dude in his prime is what the XFL got with their first signing here.
Yeah.
We're talking about Landry Jones. He's thrown 8 touchdowns and 7 picks in 5 years with the Steelers as a backup quarterback to Ben Roethlisberger. That's his resume in the NFL. A guy who went in there and showed he could be competent in the at the NFL level. And, things shook out where kind of he fell out of favor, and the Steelers went in another direction with their backup situation. Other teams didn't want to really give him the time of day. Maybe they should have. Philadelphia Eagles were looking at you. How desperate would you be for a guy like Landry Jones right now? But now he is the first player signed to the XFL, where it appears to be a situation where Landry Jones could thrive as a star, especially if he goes to play for the Dallas franchise where his former college coach is the head coach. And the XFL put out the statement along with this signing saying that the XFL will sign 7 other leading quarterbacks before its inaugural player draft in October, and each team's head coach will select their quarterbacks just prior to the draft, and details about the draft will be shared at a later date. But that means that, Bryant, the players, the quarterbacks chosen before the draft, that's happening before October. It's happening between now and the next 2 months. Landry Jones, the first of 7 of those. That is monumental.
It really is. And Alan, I guess you and I kind of both missed it on here. I was saying they might not all be quarterbacks. They definitely are. You were saying that it might be not until January. It looks like it's going to happen before that. So either way, the XFL has a plan in place. Those tier 1s are going to be signed and dealt to their given teams before this draft even starts. Again, I am one of those people that hope that it's somewhat of a lottery, and that if Jones ends up with Dallas, that it's by chance and not by assignment. But we'll see what happens there. 7 more to go. I don't know if I see another tier 1 quarterback available at this very moment. They might have to wait until those NFL cuts at the end of the month.
Oh, definitely going to have to wait until September 1st. But that is the very interesting thing to think about, is that statement. The XFL will sign 7 other leading quarterbacks before the draft. So that confirms to me that, as I've been saying all along, that the 8 tier 1 players will be quarterbacks. And we're going to know those before the draft in October. So, I mean, we know players that are out there, Vince, players in the preseason, players that aren't even on NFL teams right now. Can you think of any other names out there that might be tier 1 quarterbacks signed before October? I'm definitely going to reserve and wait until September 1st for cuts, but I'm watching NFL preseason games, and I see plenty of names that I hope will be among the Landry Joneses of the XFL.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, it's definitely going to come down to the end. And if you're the XFL, I think that's a smart thing to do. You got to wait and see, who all is going to be available, and then you pick the best guys.
So do you think that there will be another XFL signee before cuts in the NFL comes the early September?
I haven't been scouring that market as much, but I'm, if there's somebody on the level of a Landry Jones, they'll sign him.
We have the showcase names that we've seen with the Tanner Mangums of the XFL summer showcases, but those guys are being thrown into the draft pool, Bryant. I don't anticipate another signee until September 1st or 2nd after the NFL cuts some quarterbacks. How about you?
Yeah, looking at some of the talent, I think that's the only reason I say that it's not going to happen until after the cuts, because there's some serious talent out there that are going to get cut by the NFL teams. I stayed up late last night, had to fight it as hard as I could to stay up to watch the end of the Baltimore game. Just because I wanted to see those the fourth quarter action of a preseason game, if you can believe it, to see what quarterbacks are going out there. Based on the talent level, I think they can find 7 quarterbacks that are currently playing football that are not going to make NFL teams at the end of this training camp.
I mean, we did see names like Marquise Williams, who were a part of summer showcases, and those get you excited. We heard some AAF names that also started getting involved with the XFL, but I'm with you, Brian. I don't anticipate another for a couple of weeks. Yeah, I mean, I've been saying...
Why wouldn't you wait? Marquise Williams is not going anywhere.
Yeah, I've been saying the Tier 1 players, I didn't expect... I'm serious. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. To be blunt, you were correct. I didn't anticipate these Tier 1 players to be announced until January, because there are even more cuts coming after the NFL season. To hear that they're all going to be announced before October is kind of shocking to me, honestly. And also, let me just say, for Landry Jones and whomever his agent is, just viewing how the NFL preseason's going in places like Philadelphia, where they're down to their fourth backup. I mean, there are number 2 spots on NFL rosters that are still open, but this just, I think, also it shows how the XFL is really enticing to players because of the playing time it's going to give guys. And I understand it, because you rather be the starter versus the backup. And Landry Jones has signed on already to join the XFL. He is in to be a starter in the XFL, Vince, versus waiting to see if he can be a number 2 in the NFL. And I do not knock that at all.
Yeah, and like you said, he's obviously realized, it's not going to work out for this year, and that's perfectly fine. But he's now going to have an opportunity to showcase his skills in the XFL, and maybe next year he's going to find his way onto an NFL roster. Who knows? But he's made the decision. Hey, I'm not going to mess around with practice squads and holding clipboards. I want to get out there, play some ball, and show everybody what I got.
Oh, and that's all he wants to do is play some ball. You're right. He's said it enough in press releases, videos for the league. And Brian, sorry to cut you off, but I do want to bring Jake in on this. And while Jake is, intensely focused on baby blues and blacks and reds and team logos, Jake, as a fan, as a casual fan who doesn't maybe follow players as intensely as some of us, when you see Landry Jones signs on to be a part of the XFL, what does that say to you?
It's a good signing. I don't think you're going to get a more recognizable quarterback unless you could coax somebody out of retirement. Realistically.
So you think Landry Jones will be the most famous player in the XFL season 1?
Quarterback. I think he'll be the most famous quarterback.
I don't think so.
I would contend. Yeah, I would argue against that.
It's possible. I would say that, but I don't know if it's
beat him out.
Tim Tebow's got some baseball injuries.
Smith, get out of town.
He would be a bigger name than Landry Jones.
You think?
Whether talent aside, he would be a bigger name than Landry Jones.
Would he?
I don't, because he's played. Maybe because he's played more recently in the NFL. I don't know about that. I'm not sure where you get that from.
I think he's on the level of a Landry Jones, and I expect him to see it. I expect to see Gino in there now, because as we talked about on our Patreon show, Paxton Lynch is kind of showing out.
He's the MVP of the preseason.
Yeah, so
is there an award, such an award?
We'll see where Gino comes in. Again, this is making it the most interesting NFL preseason in our lifetime, Vince, because of signings like this, and how much is on the line for these backup quarterbacks as they put tape out there in preseasons.
That's the tape that you put out is always important. But how often do you see quarterbacks, get cut from multiple teams and bounce around and eventually end up in like a legitimate backup role or starting role? I'm talking about guys that are, enter as like a third or a fourth string type player. It doesn't happen that often. But now there's a tremendous opportunity for these guys to really put together a showcase of a live game, multiple games.
And I've been watching this NFL Game Pass, and let me just tell everybody, there are some dudes in the NFL preseason that might slip through the cracks to the XFL. Devlin Hodges, God. This guy has an arm, and he's the Steelers' fourth-string quarterback in the preseason right now. There are some quarterbacks in these preseason games that aren't going to make NFL teams. We'll see what the XFL ends up landing. Landry Jones is the first among many, the first among 8 for those Tier 1 slots. And let's focus in on that now, because not only is this an historic announcement, Bryant, this is telling us a lot. This is telling us not only that do we have our first XFL player, Landry Jones, goes in the record books. If this league lasts for years and years and years, he will be forever known as the first player signed. But also that Tier 1 quarterbacks are coming before the draft in October, which was, I think, assumed among us who have been following the league, but is now confirmed. Also has told us that Tier 1 players will be picked by the coaches, and we don't know what that process entails. If that's a draft, what order that'll go in. I maintain it's going to be, if a coach likes a quarterback, he gets him. I think I would almost bet money on Landry Jones being the Dallas quarterback, but we'll see. But a lot of interesting things come of this Landry Jones signing, Brian.
It's probably why the XFL made the announcement when they did, why they didn't wait for other quarterbacks to be available. It's because they wanted to get these small little snippets of information out there about the draft, get the draft. The draft is going to be the biggest thing the XFL has during its offseason. It really is. Regardless of team names, the summer showcases, anything. This is the core. I've said it before on this show. The players, without good players, without Alan or Vince, Jake, anybody, what is it all about since day one?
It has to be the quality of the play, I think, is what you're alluding to.
And the players are what's going to help you
play.
You get the best quality of your play, and that's why the draft is the biggest moment. And I think that's why the XFL let this out. They signed a Tier 1 quarterback. They want their quarterbacks to be the best possible players that they can get, and then from there, they're going to fill out their rosters. This draft that's going to happen in October is going to be monumental. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait to see what we're going to do about it, but the XFL is really setting this up perfectly, I think.
Vince, if I was to tell you Landry Jones is the first quarterback taken, where do you go from there? What is your prediction for number 2?
That's too difficult to predict right now. It really depends on who's in the pool. Yeah, and
you anticipate it's going to be an NFL quarterback, a current NFL quarterback?
I would think so. Yeah.
Do you think the XFL would make that statement that we're going to sign 7 Tier 1 quarterbacks without having the I wouldn't say the knowledge, but the comfortability to know that they're going to be able to get those 7 quarterbacks that are probably on the same caliber as Landry Jones? Meaning they're talking to agents, those agents are talking to their players. They're saying, hey, if you don't make it, let's go to the XFL and make yourself some money and get yourself some reps. You think that's what's happening right now, and that's why the XFL made that statement? Because it is a pretty bold statement that, hey, we're going to sign 7 other Tier 1 quarterbacks. Some of these quarterbacks that we've been talking about, or some of these quarterbacks that are in the summer showcases, are not worthy of the Tier 1s. Oliver Luck said it himself. He was saying that these are probably the bottom tier players.
Well, if you look around the NFL right now, and Alan and I did a show that I believe was on the Patreon, and maybe it's been released to the public. I'm not sure.
It is free feed.
We went over every single depth chart in the NFL, and we broke it all down on guys that we thought were going to make the team, not going to make the team, not make the team, and end up in the XFL. You think we're doing that? The XFL's doing that tenfold. They are examining each and every situation. They got guys, that are listening in and finding out who's really going to make these ball clubs, and they know who the pool is going to be. They know, roughly how many players are going to be available that are worthy of these Tier 1 spots, and then they're playing the probability. Hey, we think we can get so many of these guys, and Alan, I think you talked about they're an agency, or they definitely are.
Yeah, there are agents in the ears of these players too that are saying, wait it out, see what you could get from the NFL. But I have to give it up to Landry Jones, who really takes a stand with this signing. Says, okay, I'm dedicated to this league. I'm going for this in 2020. Screw it. I'm not waiting for injuries. I'm not waiting for things to happen in the NFL. I'm done with that. And that's commendable. Landry Jones, you are the first XFL player. He'll forever be known as that. But now the 7 other Tier 1 players, I just don't see us getting another one for another few weeks because there's so much left to happen in the NFL preseason. When you look at especially, I don't want to focus on this, but the Philadelphia Eagles situation is fascinating. They have backup quarterbacks just dropping like flies, and they're looking for anybody who can fill in case Carson Wentz goes down, which is not an unlikely situation. This guy has a history. So the thing is with the NFL preseason, when you're a player, you have to kind of wait it out. For Landry Jones to gamble and bet on himself and sign this contract and go all in with the XFL is very, very impressive. It's commendable. And, his agent, whoever that may be, advised him to do this. And there he goes. He's got a secured spot. But for other quarterbacks who are waiting for those backup spots, those 2 or 3 slots on depth charts in the NFL, they have another couple weeks to wait it out. And that's the interesting part of this time period we're in. I think we're going to hear the next XFL signees in September. I don't think we're going to hear another one for a couple of weeks. I hope we hear more. Gives us more to talk about. But I would bet on another, I would say till September, we hear more, the next XFL signee, number 2, after Landry Jones.
Well, think about it this way. If there were other guys that were not in NFL camps that they felt were worthy of being Tier 1 players, like Landry Jones, they would have been signed.
Yeah.
They would have made the announcement. So that tells me, unless they're gonna do something Jake would do and just announce them one by one, maybe one per week. If we don't hear anything by the end of next week, I think we're pretty safe to say that, these guys are all NFL roster players right now, and they're just waiting to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, in all honesty, let's just be upfront with it. I mean, we have covered the summer showcases more thoroughly than anybody out there, guys. I'm going to put it out there. Besides Landry Jones, I'm giving you a quarterback name that has been at one of these summer showcases, and you're the XFL. Are you offering one of these contracts to any of those other quarterbacks, including our dear guest Tanner Mangum this week? I honestly can't say I would do that because I want to wait until the NFL cuts. How about you, Brian?
Yeah, there's no way we're going to get anything until the NFL cuts. Some of these players that are, especially the ones that are getting direct invites, are going to work to get drafted. They're really not going to have that guarantee the way a Landry Jones or some of these other players are going to get cut are actually going to have.
Yeah, I mean, to echo everything else, it just makes sense. The best quarterbacks are still vying for an NFL job right now, so you got to wait to see what happens. It doesn't. I don't think that hurts the XFL at all. But this is just a case, apparently, where a guy would rather, let's just be frank about it. He'd rather take less money and start than be a backup and potentially, never play.
And I'll say this again, if you listen to when Alan and I broke down all those depth charts, there is some remarkable young talent in backup quarterback positions around the league. We're talking about guys, third, fourth, and maybe even fifth string on some rosters who, really showed that they got a lot of oomph behind them. in college, and they could, in the XFL, they could succeed. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
It's the most fascinating aspect, I think, of the league building process. And the interesting thing to come out this week, I think, is that the coaches are selecting these quarterbacks. So we'll see how that goes, because a draft is a draft. Obviously, that has an order. But this quarterback selection process, we haven't been told any details yet, Bryant. So if I'm an outsider, which I am, I'm just going to say I would anticipate Landry Jones falls in line and joins Bob Stoops' team. But who knows how that shakes out. What do you make of the quarterback selection process that the XFL has alluded to so far?
Again, I want to be one of those that hope that it is a actual lottery or some sort of those selection. Not, hey, Bob Stoops, who do you want? Or who do you want?
Bob Stoops,
Coach
even,
Moss. That's what
even in preseason videos and interviews, has said Landry Jones would be great for any coach in this league. Blah blah blah. But I would bet money he's going to be Bob Stoops' quarterback. How is that not going to happen?
Well, again, I harken back to when Oliver Luck said that there was no allotment of players, that it really messes with the, what do you call it? The spirit of competition.
Good Chris.
I think is how he put it. And you want these teams that all have a legitimate chance. Now, if Landry Jones is by far the best quarterback in the league, do you just give him to Bob Stoops? Is that how it works? Or do you do this whole snake draft where you're actually distributing these players correctly?
You can't. I don't think you can just give it to them. You can rig it though, where it appears believable, which I'd be perfectly fine with if that's what they want to do.
I'm all for the making it a level playing field, but I'm betting on Landry Jones playing for Bob Stoops. But as an XFL LA fan, Bryant, I'm gonna tell Coach Moss, wait for Chad Kelly. He's gonna become available. Hopefully, fingers crossed. If not, there are gonna be plenty of great players in this league for coaches to select from. Landry Jones, the first signed player. Can you believe it? We've been doing this for how many weeks, Bryant? I don't even know. I've lost count. But now we have our first signed player in the XFL.
82.
It's happened.
82 shows, 1 a week, 82 weeks. I think that's 82 weeks.
82 weeks. We are only how many weeks away from kickoff?
25.
25 weeks away from kickoff.
We've been doing this for 82 weeks. Wow. Just think about how many weeks it'll be next week. Wow.
And
unbelievable.
From doing shows about XFL legends and getting everybody prepared to now having our first signed player. Here we are, the XFL 2020. It's gonna come around and smack you right in the face. It's gonna be here before you know it. So get ready, start analyzing those colors, right, Jake?
Oh, that's gonna be going on all week.
and of course, start guessing which players will be XFL players. Landry Jones signing is exciting. I'm happy, because I think Landry Jones could be the number 2 on any NFL team, and he's deciding to be the number 1 on some XFL team. That's awesome. But, Vince, to watch the next 2 weeks of NFL preseason is going to be fascinating, because we are watching XFL players in the NFL right now.
Yep, absolutely.
And
we said it on the Patreon, Alan. The XFL MVP is probably playing football right now.
Most definitely, and
unless it's Landry Jones.
Unless it's Landry Jones, but I don't have him pegged as my XFL MVP. I still have Chad Kelly, and I will do that until further notice. He's my pick, but looking more and more like he's going to make the Colts roster, which is good for him, but not good for me, guys. Anything else left this week on? We had tons of news. We interviewed Tanner Mangum. Logos teased.
if there's any good sketch artists out there, please do your best. Take some, work on your lunch break or something to try to crack this case here.
The true, real announcements is what we should be focusing on. Jake, I'm sure you've stared at those logos the entire time during this show, and really nothing has changed. Well, we've gone in depth about how these players are all going to work. Either way, yes, it is very exciting that these first snippet of team identities are starting to leak out here. That might be the way we get to the end of the month when NFL cuts actually happen.
It's August 2019, and just think about it. Right now we're having fun talking about hex numbers and team colors and players getting signed, but in just a handful of months we're going to be talking about games, schemes, who's going to win, and actual football matchups, Vince. It is fastly approaching. The XFL 2020 is a-coming, and we're here to follow it along the whole way through.
Yep, it is start to get to be one wild ride.
All right, everybody. Thank you for following along with us. Follow us at XFL Show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And we appreciate you if you are a patron on our Patreon page, which is chock full of exclusive content as we ride down this road to 2020. Brian, do you have anything left, man, for us? Because I feel like we thoroughly covered what was one of the most active weeks on the road to 2020.
You're right, Alan, but I do have some other things to plug here a little bit. We are going to have some non-XFL discussion free to everyone on Patreon. It's Patreon exclusive, but it will be free. We're going to have some college football previews, some NFL previews, a big fantasy football preview as well. All coming up leading up to the regular football season this coming September. So check out Patreon. Remember, free content there, so just go ahead and check it out.
Football is here. We are at nearly the end of August, and so much to talk about. So hit up the Patreon, and thank you for subscribing to This Is the XFL Show. Tell your friends if they have any interest in the coming season in 2020. This is the show to follow at XFL Show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. For Bryant, Vince, and Jake, I am Alan. This is the XFL Show. Remember,
they're listening.
Thanks for watching and listening, XFL fans. Don't forget to tell us what you think in the comments below, or even better, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things XFL. Check out some of our other videos and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at XFL Show. This is the XFL Show is a production of Pretty Easy Podcast.